Everyone goes to Miami Beach. Everyone goes to Malibu. Everyone goes to the Outer Banks and the Jersey Shore, and the crowded stretches of Florida's Gulf Coast that appear in every travel magazine and every social media feed. These beaches are beautiful. There is no question about that. But beauty, when it is shared with 10,000 other people on the same stretch of sand, is a different experience from beauty encountered in something closer to solitude. America has thousands of miles of coastline on the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Great Lakes, and hidden within all of those miles are beaches of extraordinary beauty that most travelers never find. Today, we are going to find them. These are the most underrated beach destinations in America, the ones the crowds have not yet discovered, the ones that offer something the famous beaches simply cannot. Let's go. Let's begin on the Gulf Coast, because the Gulf Coast of Florida contains some of the most beautiful beach scenery in America, and not all of it is overrun with tourists. Caladesi Island State Park, on Florida's Gulf Coast near Dunedin, is consistently ranked among the most beautiful beaches in the entire United States, and yet most people outside of Florida have never heard of it. The reason it remains relatively uncrowded is simple. The island is accessible only by ferry or by private boat. There are no roads, no bridges, and no way to drive to Caladesi Island. You take a ferry from Honeymoon Island State Park, a short ride across the water, and when you step off onto the beach, you understand immediately why people who have been here remember it for the rest of their lives. The sand on Caladesi Island is extraordinary, fine and white and so soft that it squeaks beneath your feet. Produced by quartz crystals worn smooth by centuries of wave action, the water is a shade of turquoise that belongs more naturally in the Caribbean than in Florida. Shallow and warm and so clear that you can see the sandy bottom in remarkable detail even at depths of several feet. And because the island is a state park with no development, no hotels, no restaurants, no beach chairs for rent, the landscape is exactly as it was before human beings arrived. The only sounds are the waves and the birds. The only footprints on the sand, at certain times of year, are yours. From Florida, let's travel to the Pacific Northwest, to a coastline that is completely different in character from the warm Gulf beaches, but extraordinary in its own powerful, dramatic way. The Oregon coast. Most American travelers, when they think of a Pacific Coast beach vacation, think of California, the warm, sunny beaches of Southern California, or the dramatic scenery of Big Sur. Oregon's coastline is different. It is wilder, colder, more dramatic. The Oregon coast runs for over 360 miles, and by state law, every inch of it is publicly accessible, which means there are no private beaches, no exclusive sections, no barriers between the public and the ocean. The entire coast belongs to everyone. The scenery along the Oregon coast is extraordinary and constantly varied. Dramatic headlands of basalt rock jut into the Pacific, their faces carved by centuries of wave action into shapes of extraordinary complexity and beauty. Between the headlands, beaches of dark sand, colored by the volcanic rock of the region, stretch in long, sweeping curves. Sea stacks, isolated columns of rock, rising from the water offshore, dot the coastline in numbers and in forms that are unlike anything on the California coast. And the forests of Sitka spruce and western hemlock that line the coast come right to the edge of the sand in many places, creating a combination of forest and ocean that is specific to this part of the world, and unlike any coastal landscape anywhere else in America. The town of Cannon Beach, with its famous Haystack Rock, a massive basalt monolith rising 235 feet from the beach, is perhaps the most visited point on the Oregon coast, and deservedly so. But the true character of the Oregon coast is found in the stretches between the towns, the long, wild, and developed sections, where the beach is empty, and the only sounds are the wind and the surf, and the occasional call of a seabird. These sections are among the most extraordinary beach experiences available anywhere in America. Now let's travel to a beach destination that most Americans associate only with cold water and lobster, but that offers, in summer, some of the most beautiful and most peaceful beach experiences in the country. The beaches of Acadia and the Maine Island Trail. Maine's coast has beaches, real beaches, with sand and waves and summer sun, and they are extraordinary. Sand Beach in Acadia National Park is perhaps the most famous of them, a small, perfect crescent of sand tucked between granite headlands, with the cold clear water of the Atlantic, and the forested mountains of Mount Desert Island rising behind it. The water is cold, genuinely cold, even in summer, but for those who wade in anyway, the clarity of it is extraordinary. You can see every detail of the sandy and rocky bottom through several feet of water. The light on Sand Beach in the late afternoon, coming low and golden across the water, catching the white foam of the breaking waves, is one of the most beautiful things the Maine coast has to offer. But the most extraordinary beach experiences on the Maine coast are not on the main island, but on the smaller islands accessible by kayak or small boat, islands where the beach is often completely empty, where the forest comes to the edge of the sand, where the only company is the seabirds and the seals that haul out on the rocks offshore. The Maine Island Trail, a water trail connecting over 200 islands and mainland sites along the coast, provides access to this extraordinary archipelago for those willing to travel under their own power. And the rewards are extraordinary. Beaches and coves and headlands of such complete and perfect beauty that they feel like places that belong to another time. Let's travel now to a destination that most people think of as a party destination, but that contains, within its geography, some of the most beautiful and most overlooked beach scenery in America, the Florida Keys. Most people who visit the Florida Keys go to Key West, the most famous, the most developed, the most visited point in the island chain. And Key West is genuinely wonderful, but the beaches of the Middle and Upper Keys, the stretches of coast that most visitors drive through without stopping on their way to Key West, offer something that Key West itself cannot. Quiet, space, the particular beauty of the Keys without the crowds. Bahia Honda State Park, on Bahia Honda Key, contains what many people consider the most beautiful beach in Florida. A beach of such extraordinary beauty that it seems impossible that more people don't know about it. The sand here is finer and whiter than almost any other beach in Florida, soft as powder, brilliant in the sun. The water is shallow and clear, with colors that transition from pale turquoise in the shallows to deep blue-green further out, in a gradient of color. That is one of the most beautiful things you will see on any American beach. And the setting, the old Bahia Honda rail bridge visible in the distance, the mangroves lining the shore behind the beach, the open Atlantic on one side and the Gulf of Mexico on the other, gives the beach a geographical drama that is completely distinctive. Now let's travel to a beach destination that most Americans have never considered, a place that offers, in summer, beach experiences that rival anything on the east or west coast, but that goes almost entirely unvisited by travelers from outside the region. The Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore on Lake Michigan. The Great Lakes are not oceans, but in summer, on a warm day, standing on the shore of Lake Michigan at Sleeping Bear Dunes, it is genuinely difficult to believe that you are not at the ocean. The water is blue, a shade of blue that rivals the Caribbean on a clear day, and it is so clear that you can see the bottom at surprising depths. The beaches are long and wide and made of fine, pale sand. And the setting, the extraordinary sand dunes that give the park its name, rising up to 450 feet above the lake in the largest freshwater dune system in the world, adds a dimension of drama and beauty that no ocean beach in America can match. The Sleeping Bear Dunes are extraordinary. Standing at the top of one of the major dunes, after the climb, which is genuinely demanding, and looking out over Lake Michigan from that height, with the Manitou Islands visible in the distance, and the blue water stretching from shore to horizon below you, is one of the great views available from any beach in America. And the descent, running or tumbling down the steep face of the dune toward the water, is one of the great simple physical pleasures of American outdoor life. And finally, let's travel to a beach that sits in one of the most unexpected and most beautiful settings in America. Cumberland Island National Seashore, Georgia. Cumberland Island is the largest of Georgia's barrier islands, and it is accessible only by ferry, which means that the number of visitors at any one time is strictly limited. The island has no paved roads, no hotels, and no commercial development of any kind. What it has is 17 miles of undeveloped Atlantic beach, wide, flat, and often completely empty, backed by ancient maritime forest of live oaks draped in Spanish moss, and fronted by the open Atlantic stretching eastward to the horizon. The beach on Cumberland Island is extraordinary in its simplicity and its scale. The sand is pale and fine, the surf is steady and rhythmic, and the silence, the complete absence of the noise and crowds that characterize the famous beaches, is something that settles on you slowly and deeply. Walking along Cumberland Island's beach in the early morning, with the mist still on the water, and the only sounds the breaking waves and the calls of the shorebirds, is one of the most peaceful and most beautiful beach experiences in America. The wild horses of Cumberland Island add an element of wonder that no other American beach can offer. A herd of pharaoh horses, descended from horses that have lived on the island for centuries, roams the island freely, appearing on the beach, in the forest, and in the ruins of the old estates that dot the island's interior. Encountering one of these horses on the beach, standing at the water's edge in the early morning light, completely indifferent to your presence, is one of those moments that travel, at its best, occasionally delivers. A moment of such unexpected beauty that you carry it with you for the rest of your life. These beaches, Caladesi Island, the Oregon coast, Sand Beach in Maine, Bahia Honda in the Florida Keys, Sleeping Bear Dunes, and Cumberland Island, are 6 of the most beautiful and most underrated beach destinations in America. Each one offers something completely different. Each one is extraordinary, and each one is waiting, uncrowded, unhurried, and perfectly beautiful for the traveler who is willing to look past the famous names and find something real. The best beaches in America are not always the most famous ones. They are the ones you find when you follow the coastline past the crowds and keep going until the world gets quiet.